Hey guys, SpiritFire here, welcome back to the second channel. So it's no secret that this channel is loosely based off of JSchlatt's second channel, the weekly slap. And if you don't know who JSchlatt is, he's a YouTuber who does funny moments, gaming content and vlogs. He's very similar to what I do on my channel. And I already had the second channel, but I think lately I've been trying to kind of make mine like his. What he does on his second channel, the first channel is all goofy, all laughs and funny moments. His second channel is more serious life lesson type stuff, and that's kind of what I want to do on my second channel. I've done a series of serious videos. I don't think I've done any like this maybe, but I want to start getting into it. I think I'm just not that good with serious stuff, but I do want to try getting into it. I'm not that big of a fan of exposing my personal life to the internet, but I'm some aspects of it, I'm chill with doing it, But yeah, so if you guys can't tell by the title, it is just about having self-respect. And yeah, because when I was a kid, I had zero self-respect for myself, absolutely not. I was a people's pleaser, you could step over me and I'd say thank you, it's shit like that, It was I bent over backwards for anyone and everyone. And I think I have a few examples of this. I think the first one is everyone has family friends, right? They're not literally family, but they're maybe your dad's or mom's friends, and then their family, and then their kids, and then you become friends with their kids, things like that. That's what I call family friends, right? And back then, keep in mind, I have no animosity towards any of these people. We're all grown adults now. I still go to events sometimes, I even saw one lately in the city, just randomly walking around. It was awesome, bro, And right now, he's really helpful. He's almost like an older brother figure to me. So I don't have any animosity to any of these people. But back then, damn, they were cruel, bro. They were cruel. They worked me like a horse, bro. They're do this, do that. If you don't do that, I'm not going to be your friend. Do this, do that. And obviously I wanted, friends. Because back then I did not have many. And I found it really hard to make friends, especially because I was considered the new kid where I was. And being the new kid, you don't get a lot of friends. I was bullied even. And it was rough. It was really rough. I was a fat kid, I was bullied a lot. But it was really rough. I couldn't make a single friend other than my neighbor. And that's only because, we were neighbors. But I'll get to that part later. But yeah, my family friend. And I guess he kind of knew this. He kind of knew that I didn't really have many friends. So he used it to his advantage. Maybe just do anything and everything, bro. He's go get this for me. Go get that for me. Oh, let's do this. Oh, give me your controller. Oh, I'm going to delete your save data. Shit like that. It's minor things. Then it became major things. And then I think at one point, the adults didn't do anything step in. I think that's why today I don't have a big trust of adults. It's because they don't do much. Or they're supposed to, but I don't think any of them took notice of what basically was bullying going on, and they didn't step and do anything. So I think from that point on, I just had such a big distrust of people older than me. And I think that still holds true to this day as well. But yeah, I think at one point I was I'm being so nice to these guys, I'm a people pleaser, I'm doing whatever they want, why are they so mean to me, Because they'd always make fun of me, they'd always do this, even if I do all that stuff, I was basically their little servant, And I think it just clicked. I'm maybe that is why they are, kind of taking advantage of the fact I was being nice, Taking advantage of the fact I didn't have friends, and I was gonna do anything to, keep them, right? And I think as soon as that clicked in, I think that's when the world changed for me. I stopped being that goofy kid that doesn't really know what's going on, and I started to wisen up. I won't obviously I wasn't a fucking genius, I was what, fucking 8? I don't know. But yeah, I think I realized that, and then I remember leaving in the middle of an event. I just sat in my parents' car till they were finished. They're like, "What's going on, sweetie?" And then I'm like, I just don't want to be here anymore. And I remember the other families brought their kids in. They're like, try to convince them to get out of the car. And I'm just like, I just want to go home. And we left. And I think for a solid 2-3 years, I just never attended another event because of how I was treated, and the realization of that. So yeah, it was rough. And through those like few years, I was so extremely like alone. All I had was my neighbor, who wasn't always the greatest friend. So this is like this is the next part. So obviously I stood up for myself there, and then my neighbor, right? So my neighbor, he had this friend group, and strangely enough, the friend group were all like, he was the leader, and the rest of them were all people pleasers, right? They would all bend over backwards for him, but they seemed kind of like fine with it. I don't know if they knew. I feel like they did know, because I tried telling them like, why are you guys like bending over backwards for him? You know, because it was like he would tell them to do like inside shit. He's like, buy me a cookie, buy me chips or something. And they would just go do it, and then tell their parents that, oh yeah, I bought it for myself. But no, they didn't. They just gave it to him. And it was like things like that, and it really irked me, you know. And I think he realized that I wasn't gonna be like that, so he started talking shit about me to like basically get me hated in the friend group. And eventually, I left, and I left the friend group, you know, because it wasn't even a friend group. I wouldn't consider any of them friends. They were all just like people. You know, the only one I really knew was my neighbor, and he'd act different, like just with me alone. Like maybe I'd say, "Hey, come to my house." He'd be like, "Yeah, sure, man." And then like in public, he'd be like, "I don't know who you are," shit like that. And as soon as I realized that, I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm not going through this again. Even if it means I have to be alone for a few more years. I think I'm fine with that." And then 7th grade hit, and this is when I actually started making friends of my own. I wasn't really allowed to make friends of my own back then because my parents were really strict on like who I was friends with. They didn't want anyone to be a bad influence on me. I was a straight A kid, all that stuff. But eventually I just started making friends on my own. I didn't tell my parents. And yeah, these guys were really nice. It felt like, you know, for the first time, it felt like actual friends. And you know, some friends came and went. You know, that's just how life is. You know, then middle school passed, and then we entered high school, and my group of like 7 people exploded into like 30. It was insane because like I'd invite this dude. He's like, "Hey, can I bring my friend?" Literally, one of the way I met like one of my friends is I invited one of my friends for a my birthday party in high school for my freshman year. He was like, "Hey, yeah, my ride, I have one of my friends as my ride, so can I bring him with?" And I didn't know this guy. I'm like, "Yeah, sure, man, go ahead." And so there's this guy, we just became friends with this random guy. And it was shit like that. It was good. It was good for a long while. And then, you know, junior year and senior year hit. This was after the pandemic, after everything. And I noticed that like 3/4 of the group, maybe not 3/4, maybe half, I'd say. Half the group was like, they started getting into some weird shit. Like some of them got into like Andrew Tate. Some of them just got into like trying too hard to like, I don't really know. Like they just got into like Andrew Tate, like red pill type like content. And they started like talking shit about like our half. Like now like our friend group kind of split into 2, their half, our half. And you know, at first I'm like, oh, they're just having some fun. And then I realized no, because they just started like bullying people. And sucks to say that I think I was like the only person that recognized that, and I tried standing up for them, but then, you know, I would be made fun of by the other half. And you know, my half of the friend group, they want to stay indifferent because I guess they were as confused as I was. You know, they're like, why are these guys being like this? Maybe they're having a bit of fun. I don't know. I guess I don't know what happened, but it doesn't help that a lot of the people on my side were really passive people. They didn't really like confrontation. And this was in this point of my life, I was all about confrontation. You know, if someone has shit to say, I'm fine with confronting that. Like, I became the guy, like, if you have something to say to me, say it to me and we can resolve it instead of going behind my back and talking shit like they were. I think everyone knew this about me. That's like the type of person I am. But yeah, I'm not sure what happened, honestly. Eventually, I think the people in my half started wising up. They're like, yeah, these guys are kind of being assholes. Because I think the boiling point was when, like, one of them, like, took a picture of one of my friend's sisters, and it was really fucking weird, man. It was creepy as fuck. So we cut them off, and then, you know, then high school ended. It's all just petty high school drama, you know? Then college started, you know, freshman year, 2 years ago for me. You know, little did I know, one of my friends from the other group went to the same college as me. And I sat next to him during a lecture. I didn't even know it was him. Then he's like, holy shit, Spirit, is that you? I'm like, yeah. Oh my God, hey man, it's been a while. And, you know, we sat through the lecture. The lecture came and went. I came back, opened up my computer, and went on Discord. My friend's like, yeah, you know that dude's talking shit about you, right? Turns out these guys hadn't stopped talking shit about us since high school, bro. We were living in their heads rent-free while we forgot about them. It was... I didn't even feel angry at that point. I was just like, this is kind of sad. Because it was really weird. And they were talking about how, like, oh, if he has a girlfriend, I'll kill myself. I'm like, why would you say that? And at this point, I did have a girlfriend. So I just DM'd one of them. I screenshotted what they said. And I'm like, oh, it was the does he know meme. It's like, does he know? And I just blocked him. And I don't know what ever happened with that. But I think that was really funny. But to get serious again, I think the worst part was, I think, losing my best friend. He didn't die, but he's not my best friend anymore. And this guy, I met him in high school. He's the group I met during high school, you know? And up until this point, I kind of knew what to do. You know, if someone's talking shit behind me, behind my back, I cut them off. You know, if they were being assholes to me, I'd cut them off, things like that. But then there's just things that you don't really expect. And this was like one of those things. So my friend, we decided to room together for college. And I remember my family friend, the one I talked about in the beginning, he was, at this point we're chill, right? He's like, dude, I recommend not rooming with your friends in college. It does not go well. You might start hating each other, something like that. And goddamn, he's a prophet, because that's exactly what happened. He started getting more hostile towards me. He stopped talking to me. I think the worst part is, like, he'd always want to go out to eat with someone, and he'd be like, hey, Spirit, want to go out to eat? I'm like, sure, you know? He's like, wow, maybe he likes me again. Maybe we're friends again. And as soon as, like, you know, on the way back, like, as we're coming back, as soon as we entered our dorm, he would just shut himself in his room, and he'd ignore, like, I'd have, like, I don't know, like, I'd be saying something, and he'd just walk off into his room and go. But yeah, safe to say, things were, oh, that was my mic, my bad. Things were not going well anymore. You know, like, he got really distant, and it was rough, because he was, like, my best friend. And I'm like, surely he's not, like, talking shit behind my back. I'm like, no, he wouldn't. He's probably like, I probably said something wrong, you know? You know, I asked him, is everything okay, man? Like, you don't seem as close. And he's like, it's nothing, man. It's all good. And I'm like, all right. I didn't feel that we resolved anything, but yeah, I decided to ask one of my friends, and that's when he dropped on me that he had been talking shit about me behind my back. And that was really rough, and it was a lot to take in, because I'd known this guy forever. And then he sent me messages of, like, what he was saying. First of all, he was exaggerating things to make me look worse than I am. Like, and second of all, they weren't even like big things. They were like minor things, like, oh, I spend a little too long in the bathroom. Oh, I'm like, I don't know, I spend, I don't know, I don't know what the rest of his complaints were, because they were so fucking minute. And I'm like, what? Like, first of all, half of these don't even concern you. Like one of them was like, oh, he spends too long in his room. It's like, yeah, I'm studying, bro. He's like, oh, he's like, it's like what? And it's like, he's like, oh, whenever he comes like out with me, he's always talking. I'm like, do you want me to be silent? Like, he's conversating with me, trying to make conversation. It's so annoying. I'm like, what do you want from me? It was like, it was infuriating, because all these were like things we used to do too. Like, you know, you have conversations, play games, all that shit, you know? And now he's like, I don't know. But eventually I think I decided, yeah, I think when the year is over, and it was hard because it was only half the year. We still had a half year go. And I said, once the year's over, I think I'm cutting him out of my life, because I think this hurt way more than the other times, because this is probably my best friend. And it didn't help. At the time, I was going through a lot of shit, right? I was homesick. My grandfather passed away. Like, I loved my grandfather. I still do. And just a bunch of shit it just kept compounding. And this was just like the cherry on top, you know? And I was kind of broken. My grades started declining. It was not good. I was not in a good place. I think this was the time I stopped uploading or stopped streaming completely. It was rough. So then one day I got a knock at my door. I don't remember. It's more like an apartment, less of a dorm. So he knocked at my door. I opened the door. It's my best friend, I guess now former best friend, you know. And he started talking to me about how I think his girlfriend was abusive. He was my best friend, so I wanted to help him. So we had an intervention. We had all this stuff. We kept talking to him. We like guided him through everything. We told him to try breaking up with his girlfriend. And I won't go through all of it. He made it really difficult, but then again, he was an abuse victim, of course. Like, he's not going to want to break up with her and all that. Like, I'm not going to blame him for anything of that. It was just really tough, but eventually he did. So it really confused me when, one, he went back to her, and two, he started throwing us all under the bus. Like, this girl, I barely interacted with her. She started, like, saying so many accusations, like, to all of us, that we were terrible people, that, like, I don't know, we killed babies or something like that. And it was just terrible shit about us. Things that obviously just not true. And we recorded her saying all these. So, like, we're like, okay, we can, like, if she tries anything, we just sue her for defamation. We were seriously thinking that. But we were so confused because my best friend, he went back to her and he kept saying shit like, yeah, those guys are weird. And they said it, and he knows they're not true too. And at this point, I'm like, okay, like, it's one thing when it's like you are the victim, but when you drag us all into it, that's like another thing. Nevertheless, I didn't want to give up on him, so I helped him finally cut off the girlfriend. It took ages, man. I sacrificed my mental health, my grades, everything. I literally had to leave that school because, like, I wasn't doing too well. I had to leave that school. I had to transfer to a different school because of how, like, poorly my grades were doing, because I was trying to help this guy. Because we all kept an eye on him. Like, we were on, like, a 24-hour rotation on keeping an eye after him. You know, this might not be my story to tell, but I'm kind of getting into it, I guess. But it was rough. You know, we all had to sacrifice our time for him. And obviously, I have no qualms about that. I don't regret a single thing I did. He's still here today, and that's perfectly fine. I'm so glad he's here today. I'm glad he's gone out of that abusive relationship. But the fact still remained that even before that whole thing, I forgave him. I forgave him for throwing us under the bus during the whole situation. He was a victim. You know, he's an abuse victim. He's going to make some irrational decisions. But that doesn't mean I forgave him for talking shit behind my back before that. This was before he also had the girlfriend. So this was just before that. So I was still adamant on cutting him off. I just wanted to do this one last favor to him. And eventually I cut him off. And we came home and it was rough. Because he always messaged me, 2 months after he messaged me, dude, I'm a changed person. Please believe me, all that stuff, right? But I just told him it's gonna take some time for me to forgive you. Like, it's gonna take years. And even then, I don't know if I want to be friends. But I think at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is have some self-respect. If you're a pushover, it's gonna be rough. And it's gonna be even more rough when you have to cut someone off eventually. But in the end, you'll see that you'll become a better person for it. You'll be a better person. Your mental health will start improving. You'll start knowing how to pick out good friends, how to have good company. And it's just things like that, you know? I assumed in the beginning that everyone had good intentions and always forgave people. I've given people like 20 chances. For all these stories I've said, I've given these people 20 chances each time this thing's happened. Now it's just, I have like you have one chance, maybe two, you know? It's like, it's rough. If you're like me, or was like me, if you like were a pushover, you bent over backwards, please, I'm terrified for you. Please have some self-respect for yourself, because I went down a real dark path. Like, I didn't get into all that shit because I didn't think it was important. I was suicidal at one point, but please just have some self-respect. It'll take you so far, I promise you. But another thing I want to talk about is forgiveness. I'll talk about it in a separate video because this video is already 20 something minutes. I don't mean to leave you guys on this like two-parter thing. I don't want to make this two-parter either. I just think it's best saved for a different video. But just, yeah, have some self-respect. Thank you.